Hello and welcome. My name is Benjamin McInnes. I'm a technical marketing engineer here at Palo Alto Networks, part of the Prisma Cloud team. In the next 5 minutes, I'm going to talk to you guys about cloud security posture management. And you can see here we're in the main dashboard of Prisma Cloud in the platform. Before we start talking CSPM, let's talk about the cloud accounts that we support. We support onboarding accounts from AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, Alibaba, and OCI. Accounts can be onboarded via API or through our onboarding wizard. It's a very short process, just a few clicks. You're going to set things like the cloud account name. You're going to enable the different features, and then ultimately you're going to be protected in a matter of minutes. From here, I really want to highlight our asset inventory page. And this is the highest level zoomed out view of your cloud footprint that you're going to get. And it's a good place for me to go ahead and highlight how we can go ahead and filter almost every dashboard we see within Prisma Cloud. So let's go ahead and filter this down a little bit for AWS services. And here we can go ahead and see that the page is dynamically updated and we can see all these different services. And I want to filter down for EC2. And this gives me a good view of all of the EC2 services that we're monitoring, and we get a high-level view of whether they're in a passing state or a failed state, meaning that we've seen at least one alert generated from that particular service. And I guess this is a good point to kind of jump into what are alerts and where do they come from? And to do that, let's start with compliance. So to jump into compliance, let's go and use the navigation panel on the left-hand side of the screen and just hit compliance and then jump into the overview. This is going to give us a 10,000-foot view of all of the assets that are being monitored by Prisma Cloud across all of the different cloud accounts mapped against standards. So you can create your own standards, but we have a ton of out-of-the-box standards that you should be familiar with SOC 2 all the way to NIST, PCI, etc. So to make a little bit more sense out of this, let's go ahead and filter down on our Azure assets. And let's just say I'm interested in SOC 2. Let's pretend I have a SOC 2 audit that I have upcoming and then I need to prepare for. So quickly, I can go ahead and take a look at all of the cloud assets that I have in Azure and get a good pass-fail state across the SOC 2 standard. So when we look at the SOC 2 standard, we can kind of drill down and we can look at the different sections here. So let's look at systems operations. And this is where I really kind of want to draw the connection between Prisma Cloud policies and the controls that are found within these different standards. So if you look at the controls here, let's look at control 7.2, and this is talking about monitoring system components. So it's all about monitoring system components. We have 10 policies, out-of-the-box policies at Prisma Cloud that's mapped to this control. So as you can see, when we click, we can see we're looking for assets that are in Azure that are part of the requirement systems operation and the subsection 7.2 part of SOC 2. And here we can see a ton of events or policies here. For example, we have Azure SQL database with auditing retention less than 90 days. So that means if we see Azure SQL database that has a retention setting less than 90 days, we're going to generate an alert off that. You can also create custom alerts. You can edit alerts, and that can give you a ton of power as it's probably going to be very common for you to have your own internal policy and your own internal framework that maps to all of the different standards that you're trying to adhere to and the different controls you're trying to satisfy. So we allow creating custom policies as well as compliance frameworks within Prisma Cloud. So we talked about policy at compliance and policy at a very high level within Prisma Cloud. Let's talk about how we can get some of this data out of Prisma Cloud. And one way we can do that is by generating reports. So if we wanted to generate this report and get it in the hands of an internal or external auditor, it's very easy to do so. Just click a single button, give it a name, provide an email. You can even set it up for recurring times to run this report. And then when you get the report, you download it. It's a nice executive summary. See, we've got the SOC 2 compliance report, and we kind of have a good go, no good readout that you can go ahead and hand to your internal, external auditor. And with that, I want to kind of focus on alerting now and maybe talk a little bit about threat hunting within Prisma Cloud. So to dive a little bit deeper into alerts, let's go ahead and use our navigation menu, hit overview. And what I'm going to do is filter down onto the policy type anomaly. And once I do that, I'm going to see some things that look pretty insidious: excessive login failures, account hijacking attempts, worm activity, crypto mining activity. These are all threats that Prisma Cloud can detect out of the box. And again, we see the compliance standards that those are mapped against. We see that ransomware activity is mapped to the MITRE ATT&CK matrix, and we see the different alerts that are associated with them. So if you want to look at the specific alerts that are fired, you can dive deeper into those alert IDs, get all the anomaly details, and launch your own investigation. And from there, I want to start talking about investigations and talking about the resource query language that powers Prisma Cloud. And let's start with a basic query. Let's say I wanted to see, show me all the instance types in AWS that are accessible to the public internet over non-standard ports. I can do that by writing this simple query. And so let's go ahead and search this real quick and let this load. And here I've got a laundry list of resources that are in VPCs that are allowing access to the internet over these non-standard ports. We could take it a step further and take a look at flow data, right? If we wanted to change our query from config to a network query, I could say, show me network or show me flow records where we've got over 1,000 bytes accepted and that we're seeing connection from suspicious IPs. And those suspicious IPs are going to be populated from our threat intelligence data. And we can change this. Let's look at the last 7 days and let's go ahead and let that load. Okay, wow, we see we've got a lot of connections from suspicious IPs, and we can kind of from here investigate any of these resource types we wanted to and launch our own investigation into what's actually taking place here. We can get a nice network summary as well as an alert summary with more details around, if I wanted to see, what specific host vulnerabilities does that resource have that's having connections from the internet? What are the CVEs associated with those vulnerabilities, et cetera? And so hopefully that gives you we're just scratching the surface here of the power of RQL, but hopefully that gives you an idea of the capabilities and how alerting is baked into Prisma Cloud. And with that, I kind of want to start talking about integrations. As you can see, guys, Prisma Cloud offers a ton of out-of-the-box integrations for pulling things in like threat intelligence, to pushing events to SIEMs, to triggering automation and orchestration activities, all very easily enabled by adding integrations through our platform or via API. The last thing I want to cover on this quick demo is just covering our adoption advisor, which walks you through every step you need to take to getting the most out of your cloud security posture management within Prisma Cloud. Things like onboarding cloud accounts to quickly enabling audit logs. We have step-by-step instructions that will walk you through how to get the most out of your platform. Covered a lot today. I want to appreciate you all for your attention. Thank you and have a good rest of your day.